What if the limit you feel isn't the true limit? What if the moment you want to stop is not where your body fails, but where your brain hesitates? And what if most of your boundaries are protective predictions, not final barriers? We like to believe our limits are physical. Muscle fatigue, shortness of breath, mental exhaustion, clear signals that say, enough. But biology is rarely that simple. The human body evolved for survival, not maximum performance. Its primary goal is preservation. Energy must be conserved. Risk must be minimized. Damage must be avoided. So the brain developed something subtle, a regulator. Not a hard stop, but a warning system. Long before muscles reach complete failure, the brain sends signals of discomfort. Pain increases. Effort feels heavier. Doubt appears. These sensations are persuasive. They feel definitive, but they are estimates. The brain predicts how much strain the body can handle without harm, and it adjusts output accordingly. This is not weakness. It is protection. Caution-enhanced survival, but modern environments are different. The risks are rarely life-threatening, yet the same protective mechanisms remain. Consider physical training. Athletes often report a second wind, a phase where exhaustion feels overwhelming, then suddenly manageable. The body did not instantly change. The brain recalibrated. It allowed more output because the predicted danger did not materialize. This reveals something important. Fatigue is partly physical, but partly interpretive. The brain constantly calculates how much energy remains, how much threat exists. Is continuing worth the cost? When uncertainty is high, output decreases. When confidence increases, capacity expands. This applies beyond sport. Mental endurance follows similar rules. You sit to work. After 20 minutes, restlessness rises. Focus fades. The urge to stop feels justified. But is it true depletion or discomfort interpreted as depletion? The brain evolved to conserve cognitive energy as well. Deep thinking is metabolically expensive. If an easier stimulus is available, the brain prefers it. Not because it cannot continue, but because it predicts efficiency. This is where modern life complicates the equation. We are surrounded by low-effort alternatives: scrolling, notifications, entertainment on demand. When a difficult task triggers discomfort, escape is immediate. The brain learns quickly. Discomfort equals exit. Over time, the threshold lowers. You feel exhausted sooner, not because capacity shrank, but because the regulator became cautious. The limit moved inward. Stress functions similarly. The stress response evolved for short bursts, fight or flight, then recovery. Today, stress is often prolonged and abstract. Deadlines, social comparison, performance pressure. The brain cannot easily distinguish between physical threat and reputational risk. It responds with the same chemistry. If this activation remains frequent, the regulator tightens further. Energy feels scarce. Resilience feels reduced. But here is the quiet truth. The regulator is adjustable. Not infinitely, but measurably. Studies in endurance psychology show that perception of effort influences performance more than muscle capacity alone. If you believe you are near failure, output decreases. If you reinterpret discomfort as progress, output increases. Belief alters prediction. Prediction alters performance. This does not mean limits are imaginary. Tissue can tear, burnout can occur. Biology has real constraints, but most daily ceilings are conservative estimates. The brain would rather stop early than risk damage. So how do people break perceived limits? Gradual exposure, incremental expansion. Small repetitions that teach the regulator a new baseline. When you run slightly farther than usual, safely, the brain updates its model. When you concentrate 5 minutes longer than comfortable, capacity shifts. When you remain calm under mild stress, resilience expands. The key is evidence. The brain adjusts predictions based on experience. If discomfort repeatedly leads to safe outcomes, the warning signal softens. But if discomfort always leads to withdrawal, the signal strengthens. Modern culture complicates this. We are encouraged to avoid discomfort, optimize convenience, minimize strain, automate difficulty. While comfort has benefits, constant ease narrows tolerance. The body adapts to inactivity, the mind adapts to stimulation, and the regulator grows cautious. Breaking a biological limit, then, is rarely dramatic. It is rarely a single heroic act. It is systematic recalibration. Expose yourself to manageable stress. Recover fully. Repeat. Over time, the definition of too much changes. You notice this in subtle ways. Tasks that once felt overwhelming become routine. Workouts that once drained you feel sustainable. Conversations that once triggered anxiety feel manageable. Capacity expands quietly. But there is a boundary worth respecting. Ego-driven overextension backfires. If stress overwhelms recovery, the regulator responds aggressively. Fatigue deepens. Motivation drops. Signals intensify. True growth respects rhythm. Strain followed by restoration. Expansion followed by integration. The question is not whether you have limits. You do. The question is how many of them are protective forecasts rather than fixed walls. Where do you stop because you must? And where do you stop because it feels uncomfortable? Examine your own patterns. When you quit a task, what sensation preceded it? Pain, boredom, self-doubt. Which of those are threats and which are signals of growth? Share what you observe in your own limits. Where have you surprised yourself? Where have you assumed incapacity without testing it? Because once you understand that the brain regulates output cautiously, the edge feels different, not reckless, but negotiable. And sometimes, the boundary you are about to break is not your body's failure, but your mind's prediction.